This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east, producing the show at SiriusXM New York, it's Andre the Giant. And our special co-host for the day here, it's UFC middleweight and light heavyweight, Smiling Sam Alvey. What's up, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
Yeah, feeling good. Thanks for having me on.
Middleweight done, by the way, or should I lose that one? Or
I might go back. I don't know.
Still do it, right?
I could still do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's great to have you here today.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I always like being a big middleweight, and I'm kind of a in between light heavyweight, so I might go back. We'll see.
Would you be the perfect 195 pounder?
I would be, but I'd be about the only one. Everybody else would be just small coming up or not quite big enough going down.
Right.
I think a couple of years ago you could get like a Shogun there. You could get Rashad would do it. Hendo would have done it.
Bisping probably would have loved it a little bit. Maybe Rockhold doesn't go all the way to 205. He stops at 195. Babalu Sobral. There was a few, like
been fun.
Rich Franklin, same thing.
Yeah.
He did 205. He did 185. But, yeah. But I guess now the bigger focus is 65 and 75, and then we'll work our way up.
I think that's the one where you have enough people in two divisions.
Correct.
95 now, I think you'd gut 205, you'd gut 85. I think 95 would be a sweet division, but I think 205 would 85 would just go away.
Yeah. All right. So, fun show that we have planned for today. We're going to obviously preview UFC on ESPN 3 out in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Excuse me. I had some Mexican food earlier, and I guess it's pretty heavy here.
Or as we like to call it, food.
Food, right. What I was going to say was everybody weighed in, and everybody did well. They all made weight. Now, there's nobody that needs to make a championship weight, per se. So, they all had the 1 pound allowance. But, again, they were all in and ready to go, and they had the ceremonial weigh-ins. So, barring anybody stepping on a tack or whatever, slipping on a banana peel, we'll be ready to go tomorrow for UFC on ESPN 3. We have a writer and a videographer down there, and, of course, plenty of people here to basically entertain you for the next 24, 36 hours. MMA Junkie has got you covered. We'll have all kinds of stories in relation to this fine fight card, which, by the way, includes 2 solid #1 contender fights. Francis Ngannou versus Junior Dos Santos, and Jussier Formiga versus Joseph Benavidez. I mean, clearly, the winners of these 2 fights have a great case to be the next in line for the next time the champion is ready to defend. Now, in the case of the heavyweights, DC has an opponent. It's Stipe Miocic. I'm not trying to say that the winner of this fight steps in line here. That fight's already set. But when Henry Cejudo does come back, he's going to need an opponent if he chooses to go flyweight, and I think this fight would provide that. So just to be a little bit more clear. So we'll go all over that, and we're going to talk about Sam and his fight that he has versus Klidson Abreu at UFC on ESPN 4 in San Antonio. But that's on July 20th, so that's still about 3 weeks away or so. And then we'll find out what brings him to town. I mean, I kind of know, but he'll share with you guys. He's being quite the teammate / coach this weekend as well. So we're going to cover all that. Now, we want you guys to participate in the show. You can call in at 877-FIGHT93, 877-344-4893, or hit us up on Twitter at MMA on SiriusXM. By the way, that works for all of the shows. And I'm talking about the phone number and the Twitter handle, so you can correspond with all the hosts and producers. All right, guys. So, you excited? Someone's going to sleep. There's no way that fight goes the distance, right? Francis Ngannou and Junior Dos Santos?
I don't think it's going around 2. I think it's ended early.
I think so, too. Yeah. Ngannou got his swerve back. You know, he had that fight versus Stipe Miocic in early 2018 were basically gassed out, and it just was not his best effort, especially when he was trying to win the title. And then he had a really, really terrible fight against Derek Lewis. Both guys just did not throw, man. Nothing at all.
Oh,
but boy, did he snap out of it when he went to Asia and pounded Curtis Blades. Then he follows that up with a whooping over Cain Velasquez. So Francis Ngannou is back. And, of course, Junior Dos Santos also on a win streak. A former champion, by the way. Uber popular. And if he gets past Ngannou, I know he's going to want to fight the winner of Miocic and DC. Remember, against Miocic, he's 1-1. Mm-hmm. And against DC, he's never fought him. But still, he's fought his teammate 3 times, Cain Velasquez. So
it's a big if, though.
It is a big if. So take it away. Sam, what do you think of this fight? What do you think goes down in this fight? Who do you think is going to win this fight?
I'm looking at the odds right now, and I'm surprised the odds they're not close, but I'm surprised they're as close as they are.
Okay.
I'm picking Ngannou, and I think it's early. Dos Santos, he's probably a better boxer, but Ngannou hits so hard. And Dos Santos was getting hit in his last fight against the Black Beast, right? And he was getting hit. But
JDS?
Yeah.
He fought Tai Tuivasa, and did he fight Derek Lewis?
I thought Derek Lewis was his last fight. I could be wrong.
I'll look it up. Go ahead.
All right.
Continue.
Hey, well, in his last fight, whether it was Derek Lewis or someone else, he was getting hit, and he shouldn't have been. And I think Ngannou, if he only needs one hit. You hit him once, and the fight's over. You get hit by him once, and the fight's over. And I think he could do it.
I think that's the main point.
Yeah, he did fight Derek Lewis. Yeah, okay, you're right.
You had me scared.
So Wichita,
yeah.
Man, all these just pile up on themselves
I know,
that
right?
you just forget them. How could I have forgotten that? I would have told you Blagoy and Tai Tuivasa because I clearly remember those. But I'm telling you, man, 2019 has been a blur.
I think the main point in all that is how much Junior Dos Santos gets hit throughout his career. He's had some, especially with Cain Velasquez, some wars. And Francis Ngannou is just not that type of puncher where you can take a few to give one. You take one from him, that's it. I mean, you saw what he did to Alistair Overeem.
Or Curtis Blades, or pretty much anyone else he's fought. That's what Stipe did so well, is he didn't get hit. I mean, his whole game plan is, I'm not going to take that one. Hendo, he always has a game plan, I'll take one to give one, because his one is usually pretty much bigger. Ngannou doesn't, I mean, anyone that fights Ngannou can't take that one, because it only takes that one.
Right, yeah. Anywhere he hits you, the temple, the back of the ear, of course, the jaw, the nose, the body. I mean, it's literally like your body mass is being moved one way or another. You are feeling something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the best thing is to not get hit either. Duck under and a well-timed double if you can do that. I mean, he's so big, he's so athletic. Who knows? Or just clinch up. Or, of course, a little bit of head movement and some nice counter strikes. It is not an easy task, and he just keeps getting better and better and better.
He does. And he trains. I mean, I know some of his trainers, and he's training smart. He's training smarter than he ever has before. He's doing what he needs to do. He's finding training partners. And I know that's new to his training style. And you just see it. I mean, how quickly he took care of Cain, how quickly he takes care of almost everybody.
Now, that said, guys, he is fighting a former champion who also hits pretty hard, and a well-timed punch is all he needs. You know, it's not like they're going to exchange. It's not like we know going in that 100 blows will be thrown by each guy. I mean, literally you can throw 20, and if you only get clipped one time, that might be it. But the odds, by the way, on that fight is minus 270 for Francis Ngannou, the favorite. The underdog is plus 220, Junior Dos Santos. You thought the odds should have been bigger in favor of Ngannou?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
I would even play I'm sure it's on there somewhere. I'd say the first half of the fight. It'll be under 2.5. It would be my prediction.
The smiling Sam Alvey gamble?
I love gambling. I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I like gambling.
Yeah. Have you already put in your play?
Not yet.
You're liking Ngannou though. Huh?
I am. It's not going to give me much for my money, so I might use him on a parlay. He'll be like that. Sure, just give me a little extra on a parlay.
Right.
But I like Ngannou.
All right. Well, it all goes down tomorrow night, and like I say, in my opinion, it's a pivotal fight. In my opinion, it provides the next contender for the winner of Miocic and Cormier. The only thing that could stop it from happening is if Cormier and Miocic turn into Bigfoot Hunt 1, where they just got to run it back. Oh, my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. We got to run it back. But barring that, I believe this fight will pretty much slide in there. The winner of this fight.
DC's talking retirement. What if he wins, walks away? Who fights Ngannou? Assuming Ngannou wins.
DC's very competitive. If Miocic were to beat him, I bet you he would postpone that retirement because that would be a trilogy fight.
I'll bet you he would.
Yeah, you think he'd retire or
no? He would postpone the retirement. He would fight again to run that third one.
Right, exactly. So we'll have to see how those fights play out, and that's kind of the luxury that Dana White gets, where he can kind of half commit, but then also pull away from a certain fight that he committed to, because he just asked the obvious question: "Don't you want to see these guys run it?" Or whatever, and we all sit there and go, yeah, that's one hell of a fight.
Yeah. I think it would depend on the way he lost. I think if it was a really bad knockout, then maybe he would. He's got a lot of money.
He might want, the retirement.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But if he lost, say, a decision, which I doubt would happen, but if it just wasn't too bad, I think I'm with Sam. I think he would come back.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are 24 hours away from seeing that, and don't forget, myself and Goes will be here tomorrow for a sportscaster watch-along for UFC on ESPN3. It starts at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. We'll be here. We'll watch the fights, and we'll react just like you will, because we will basically time our feed. Well, it's actually on ESPN, so really, unless one of you guys at home is hitting some sort of a delay, we'll pretty much be watching the fights at the same time, and we have a chat room. So it's www.sportscaster.com/MMA Junkie. We've now done 5 or 6 of these in a row in 2019, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And actually, we're all decked out in our USA gear because we did one earlier for the U.S. women's national team. It was a quarterfinal matchup against France, and the United States won 2-1. So congratulations to the ladies. They'll be facing England in the semifinals on July 2nd, which is Tuesday, at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So we're really, really pumped up for that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. You are listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, channel 156. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little bit about Sam Alvey and what he's got coming up in San Antonio, Texas on July 20th.
Put excellence and excitement in your Vitamix. Add ice, and you get MMA Junkie Radio.
It's fantasy football season on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, and right now you can hear the FSGA Fantasy Football Drafts featuring the top fantasy football analysts. Learn winning draft strategies and find out which players you need to have on your team. The FSGA Fantasy Football Drafts right now on Sirius 210 XM87 and streaming on your phone and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Smiling Sam Alvey, our co-host here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. That's his walkout tune right there.
That is. You guys are getting me juiced up. I only listen to it when I'm walking out now.
Oh.
Yeah. And I swear to goodness, it pumps up and my heart goes a little faster.
Okay, so that wasn't a boo-boo, though. You're enjoying it?
Oh, I'm loving it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying we jinxed the song.
No. It's just, I've heard it now and then I'll hear it again in my fight.
After the show, you want to go in the alley? We'll go beat some bums up?
Yeah, let's do it.
You fired up?
Yeah,
all right.
I'm in.
I'll have to let you take it, though. I'll just kind of record.
Corner me.
I'll do the YouTube stuff.
We'll start.
All right, guys. Sam, you're 3 weeks away, right?
Yeah, just about 2 weeks of training, I think.
Yeah, and so you've been staying at the, not staying at the PI, but you've been working out at the PI.
Yeah, I was there today.
What brings you to town is also your team from Team Quest is out for some amateur fights.
I coach my entire amateur team. I work with some of the pros too, but I coach the amateur team, and they made weight. Today I helped Arian Young. He made weight today. Matt Padilla, he's making weight also, or made weight. Help those guys make weight. They're stepping on the scale here in the next, 40 minutes or so. They don't need me for that part.
They're solid? They're good?
They're good. They're on weight. We had a good cut, and everyone's comfortable. We got their pre or post weigh-in shakes made, and then they fight at the Pack to Mac tomorrow night.
Okay, that's your function at the gym then?
Yeah, I coach the kids, and I coach the almost pros, and then there are a couple pros I work with too.
Yesterday, Sarah Kaufman was also telling us she handles about 6 classes in Vancouver at the gym she trains at. But what I wanted to ask, I didn't get to it with her, was those hours that you're committing to training, could those be hours that you could be committing to yourself or just recovering? Do you ever second guess yourself on that? Or?
So I'll do privates too, private lessons. And one of my privates, he's on a trip to Africa right now.
Okay.
And so I find myself at 4:30 on Monday and Wednesday, which is when we're supposed to work. I'm supposed to be there, but he's gone. I'm just bored. I'm at home just saying, I should go do, I'm just bored. And I've had, some days when a class or two is canceled or for whatever reason I can't be there, and I get bored. And I just sit there and, they say idle hands, nothing good comes from it. And I love teaching these kids. I love teaching my cage class. I really enjoy it. And when I'm not doing it, it's kind of what I wish I was doing.
So it's not like you go to bed saying, "Oh man, I'm only going to get 5 hours today because I'm stretching myself too thin."
No, if it was, I'd make the adaptation. I've got a flock of kids myself, and that's the one part I do where is that they're not getting enough, but they take all my classes too, so I get a lot of them there.
How many kids do you have now?
I have got 3 kids, 1 foster child, so there's the 4th kid we're hoping to adopt, and then 5th kid is coming the end of August.
Oh,
yeah, so we've got a flock, and partridge in a pear tree kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they keep me busy too. And I just, if I didn't love what I do, how I do it, I wouldn't do it. And it's been working for me. I've got 60 fights, and it's just the way I've always done it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the answer. And with Sarah, the one thing I know is she's a really bright young lady. We've had her on the show quite a few times, and I remember about 8-10 years ago, I think at one point didn't she want to go to medical school and all that?
I'm not sure.
So I'm sure she makes pretty good decisions when it comes to her professional career. Maybe I'll ask her the next time. But that was the second time I had heard in consecutive days about a pro fighter that's also teaching. And, I look, and I know you've had 17 fights, in the UFC. And so I figured, well, he's got to be past the stage where, I think financially he's doing well. But
yeah, no, I'm very happy with what the UFC pays me. My family's thrilled with it.
Okay.
And yeah, keep winning, and I'll make even more in the next one.
One last thing, and I know Goes is jumping at the bit here. About 3 interviews ago, I think you had up to here with Cali, and you wanted to leave, right? Have you found a new love for Cali, or is that still the plan to go somewhere?
I love what I'm doing in Cali. I love the people I'm with. I love my gym. I love my friends. And the state itself, I can't wait to get out of. I'm still years away from it.
That's after the career? You'll leave?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna figure it out.
Remind me again what your beef is.
Just there's so many people everywhere. The taxes are insanely high. We just voted ourselves a 22 cent a gallon on gasoline. We said, yeah, let's do it. I don't know why we voted that. I don't know who's voting for that. But it's so expensive to live there.
God forbid you want to give your kids a pool too, Sam.
Oh my, yeah.
The permits.
Oh my goodness. And I can't keep my lawn alive. It's just a desert.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, especially in that area.
Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin, where during the winter it's white, which I don't miss so much. But during the summer it's green and blue and beautiful. And out here it's anything that's green. At least where I am in California, anything that's green is man-made or man-maintained. And I just miss the wildlife. I grew up on a lake. I could fish whenever I wanted. If I wanted to hunt, it was a 20-minute drive. Now I have no idea how to hunt in California.
What the heck is Hendo hunting then?
He goes places. He goes places. Yeah, I'm sure he's figured it out, and he'll get his permits. Everything. It's just expensive too. And I'm doing all right, but I've never fought for a world title like he has.
Going back to the amateur levels, so you have your kids out here.
Yep.
How different are they at the amateur levels as far as their preparation for weight cutting?
They're most of the time they're all wrong, and we're trying to correct it. Your amateur career is not important, and I always tell them it's not important. All you're doing with your amateur career is figuring out how to be a pro. So when you've been an amateur for longer, you should start knowing how to cut weight, how you're comfortable cutting weight, how you're going to perform after cutting weight. And once you start figuring the little things like that out, when you should cut out sodium, when you should do this or that and the other thing, and I'm there to try and help them as best I can, then we start thinking about going to pro. So I'm not one of those guys where you have to go out on a 5-fight win streak before. You have to know how you perform under certain circumstances. You have to know how to switch strategies in a fight before you're ready to go pro. Then it's important. Then it's a career.
The same way they're learning to become pros, are you still kind of learning the coaching route? Because I imagine there's different situations that you're going to be like driving back home. There's a possibility you could have some winners, some losers.
Mm-hmm.
Like some coaches say, I need to go 5-0 for me to walk home and be happy. Even if one kid goes down, I'm sad. How do you take all that stuff?
As an amateur, I need them to have learned something from the fight. As a pro, I need them to win. As an amateur, you need to learn something. That is all the amateur career is for. And once you've learned enough to become an early pro, then you can turn pro. Once you're talented enough and you understand, it's more than just being tough. There are a lot of tough guys that can't cut it as a pro. You have to know how you fight, how you want to fight, and how to adapt if the fight's not going the way you want to.
Would you have liked yourself as a coach going up?
I was my coach growing up.
Yeah.
At least once I started fighting, because I didn't know anything. When I started fighting, it was all on me. Somebody said I could fight there. I said okay. Somebody said eventually they'd pay me if I fought there. I said okay, let's do it. I was telling my guys I was probably 10-1 as a pro before I ever learned that there was a UFC.
As a pro?
Yeah.
When you were at MFC?
No. When I was way before the MFC.
Okay.
This would have been when I was still back in Wisconsin.
Before you learned there was a UFC.
Yeah, before I learned there was a UFC. For the first.
Can you take us back to that first fight?
Yeah, I called the XFC. I said, hey, I want to fight. And he said, okay, this is the time. I said, all right. So I showed up, and they said, all right, you're fighting that guy. I said, all right, let's do it. What was his name? Wagner. I think it was something
Your
Wagner.
First fight?
My first fight.
Shane Malchotti.
That was pro fight. I was talking amateur.
Amateur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shane,
I don't have an amateur record.
John Eldridge?
Eldridge, that's it. Yeah. He was my first amateur fight. I fought that. I didn't know the rules, so I dropped him in the first. I said, okay, and then it didn't end. And then he beat me up in the second. Then I went on a tear after that. I fought in Russia as an amateur. I got brought over there.
An amateur fight in Russia?
Yeah.
Did they pay for your travel?
I paid for my travel. Yeah.
Well, you paid for your travel.
Yeah. Once I was there, they paid for everything else.
Yeah.
But I paid the flight and all that. I was there for 2 weeks. We fought at the end. I won over there.
Moscow?
I was in Ivanovo, the city of brides over in Russia. But yeah, I was there, and they announced me. It said Sam Alvey with a record of 2-1, and they said, and in the other corner, big Russian hairy guy, with a record of 29 wins and 1 loss, and he listed these titles and titles and titles, and I had no idea what. So, the guy I was with, Dave Sixel, was the coach of the team that went over. I said, "Oh, that's who I'm fighting, huh?" He said, "Yeah." So I beat that guy, and it was 2 rounds. Unless it was a draw, then it would go to a third.
Right.
So I went to a third, and I won the third, and I won. I was the one guy from our team that won.
Wow.
We came back on a Monday. On Wednesday, I got a call from Dave Sixel. Said, "Hey, there's a heavyweight tournament up north in Lac de Flambeau. You want to do that?" He said, "If you win, you'll get $1,000." I said, "Oh, my God, yeah, definitely." So I went up, and it was 3 fights in one night for King of the Cage. Wow. And I won all 3 of those, and they said, "All right, now you've won a contract with King of the Cage," which I never got. But I did fight for King of the Cage all the time, so it was probably better that way. I got $1,000. I said, "Well, I should start to train." So I just started making it up. I was taking weapons, actually, with Mr. Metz in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, like size and nunchucks and stuff. And so he had mats. I said, "Hey, can I use your mats?" And he said, yeah, we'll start working on some stuff. And
Wisconsin strikes me as the place where you should chop wood to get in shape as well.
I'm sure there was some wood chopping involved, some gravel shoveling and running on beaches and steps. We had some pretty gnarly workouts. But for about 4 years, I just kind of made it up as I went, and it did real well. I think when my wife made me move to a gym, where I wasn't coaching.
You met her in Wisconsin?
Yeah, she was from Illinois, but I was Wisconsin.
Okay.
We met at the Renaissance Fair.
Okay.
Yeah, so she did all the research. I didn't know who Dan Henderson was until I met him, and then he was Dan Henderson, and then I learned who Dan Henderson was. Mm-hmm. He said, "Oh, he was in the Olympics and the Pride and the this and the that." I said, "Oh,
and the Strike Force and
yeah,
the UFC and the
yeah," and say, "Oh, he's
Dan Henderson, Sam Alvey. He's beaten 14 former world champions of major organizations, and he's won it, and he's beaten 2 of them. Sorry, of those 14, he's beaten 2 of them 2 times. So he's won 16 fights against former major world champions. Aside from him being a Grand Prix winner in Pride, a double champ in Pride. If you think about it, he's the original champ of a major league organization. Mm-hmm. A Strike Force light heavyweight champion, and only the UFC one evaded him. Don't forget rings.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I was telling Goes the other day that had he won that for split decision against Michael Bisping, he probably would have been the most accomplished fighter of all time. And he's still up there, by the way, just because of all those major belts that we just talked about and the skins on his wall from beating all those great fighters. Yeah. And the losses he took, when you look at him, you're like, holy shit, those guys were champs too. Like, I mean, he didn't get one tomato can.
Yeah, not one. And he sees it in the gym. He coaches our team. He comes in, and for 3 minutes, he's the most dangerous man in the entire world. After 3 minutes, he's a little easier to deal with nowadays. But he's been retired for a minute.
Yeah.
Hey, take us back to that Renaissance Fair where you dressed up and everything.
Oh yeah. I sold steak, almost steak.
Really?
Yeah. And I worked there for 5 years. My older brother even still works there. He runs booths there and everything. But I got a job there for 5 summers throughout high school and college. Mm-hmm. And my second year working there was my now wife's first year working there. She was selling bodists, or what do they call it? Medieval plastic surgery, just making boobs bigger. And we met. Her boss and a buddy of mine introduced us, and that was almost 14 years ago now.
Wow.
So this was before she did the reality show?
Yep, before she only did the show because I made her do it. I drove her down there, kicked her out of the car, and said, "Come back a winner." And she did.
So you both kind of knew each other before the big successes that you wound up having professionally.
Yep, I never fought. She's been in my corner every fight.
Right.
I say at the beginning she was in my corner because it was a free ticket. And so she said she was my coach. She was a free ticket in. I said, okay, let's do it. And she started taking it way more serious than I did.
Oh, I've seen her in action, man. She really, really knows combos to call and strategies to throw your way. I've seen it all the way from MFC. It was very, very impressive.
And that's always been her. She picked Team Quest. It wasn't me. She said, well, with your style and you don't have any jiu-jitsu training, so we should probably go the other route. You have wrestled before, and she looked up who Dan Henderson and who's come out of Team Quest and who the big gyms in MMA were at the time, and so she picked Team Quest for me. So she moved me out to California, kind of dropped me off, and then she came back and graduated from college herself. And now we've got, like I was saying, we've got three kids, one on the way, and a foster baby, all ours, and we're loving every minute of it.
You guys are great people, man.
She's
awesome.
Wonderful. I'm happy to be with her.
I don't want to cruding up the story, but you guys are missing the big grander picture. Sam was slinging meat and she was slinging breasts.
It's been mentioned.
Sorry.
it's the joke of the Renaissance Fair.
Did you ever come close to not ending up at Dan's and ending up somewhere else? And if so, can you share?
Yeah, what was the second or
Yeah,
third
the
choice
second option she had picked was American Top Team in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And it was really who answered first. We kind of started driving south, and Heath Sims at the time was the general manager of Team Quest, and Heath got back to me first. So we took a right and ended up in California.
Wow.
And I honestly,
amazing story.
I really was hoping for Florida.
You dropped down from the Wisconsin area.
Mhm.
You're heading down to the southern part of the United States, and it was a race between you make a left to go towards south, or to go towards Florida, or a right to go towards Cali.
Yep,
and
yep.
Heath Sims. I know that guy because he wrestled at Woodbridge High. He was kind of like one of those guys that was all. He went all the way to All-State, and I believe he's an Olympian with Dan. Yeah, at Irvine, he was like legit in Southern California wrestler.
Yeah.
And I think now he's in Singapore. Or?
Yeah, somewhere over there. He was with Team Evolve.
Yeah.
And he might still be with them, or he might be doing something else.
Yeah,
he just had another
guy.
baby not too long ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
What if nobody calls? You just head down towards Mexico, or what? You keep driving south?
I don't know what I would
shoot box.
He ends up on the beach with Red from Shawshank.
I would have been training.
Hey, Sam.
Say what today?
I would have joined Canelo's gym. He's down that way, right?
There we go. Yeah, cinnamon.
All right, we got to take another break here. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. We have Smiling Sam Alvey here in studio co-hosting with us. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about John Jones and Matt Hamill beefing. It's not too bad, but still some controversy all kind of stirred up because Dana White wants to reverse the one loss that John Jones has on his career. So we'll tackle that, tie it into our daily debate. We're going to have some fun here. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Participation awards. They have boxes of gold stars that they purchase themselves. They are the legends and demand your respect. Here are George and Goes.
All right, we're back. Let me just do a quick Twitter roundup. To my left, it's the fight analyst Dan Tom at Dan Tom MMA. I'm at MMA Junkie George. That's at The Goes. And Smilin' Sam is at Smilin' Sam. That's his Twitter handle. The whole show is at MMA Junkie Radio. All right, so, guys, I don't know if you heard this or not, but John Jones is a little, pissed off at Matt Hamill because Matt Hamill reacted to something Dana said, and it all started with basically Dana White doing an interview and talking kind of out of nowhere. I mean, I guess John is fighting next week, but I think we've all been I don't want to say at peace, but just we've all accepted that John does have one loss on his record that no one really recognizes. If you really want to say, look, by the letter of the law, is he undefeated? No. But I don't think any really hardcore MMA media or fan disagrees if somebody that goes, well, he's really never lost because he's never really been defeated by anybody. It was a disqualification. But regardless, Dana does an interview with ESPN LA. We got a couple cuts from that. Let's play the cuts back to back. Andre the Giant, and then we'll continue with how it escalated to Hamill and then Jones commenting.
Listen, John Jones is, you can't even argue it. You can't deny it anymore. He's the greatest ever. He's the greatest of all time. And if you look at his life outside the octagon and what he's been able to do inside the octagon, it's pretty amazing. Nobody has ever been better than John Jones. The guy's unstoppable. The guy's never lost a fight ever. That one loss on his record, we're trying to get that clear. It was at a time and a place in the Nevada State Athletic Commission when it was at its worst. It was the weakest commission ever in the history of Nevada, and the referee that reffed that fight shouldn't even have been in there. And he disqualified John, which shouldn't have happened either. So hopefully we can get that overturned.
Well, I was telling the guys in between the breaks that I've seen that fight a few times, and so I remember it, and I've seen it recently. John throws a series of elbows where some of them look like he's almost kind of throwing his forearm at Matt Hamill. Then, of course,
legal elbows.
Legal. He's landing, with the point of the elbow, or he's kind of just trying to, mash his way through because Matt's just basically blocking him. And he switches back and forth, and he probably does 25 from each side. He looks up at the referee, Steve Mazzagatti, a couple times as if to say, are you going to stop it? And I think that was similar to, do you remember when Roy Nelson was on The Ultimate Fighter, and he had told the guys, sometimes when you're in top position, have your teammates count 1, 2, 3, and it'll pressure the ref to realize, wow, that's a lot of unanswered blows. I should just stop this. So I'm thinking of that as I'm watching the video, that maybe he's doing so many, and he's looking at the ref as if to say, kind of coercing him, hey, you're going to stop this anytime soon.
Right.
He ground and pounds, but to Hamill's credit, he's blocking a lot too. His face isn't really that marked up at that point. He's getting fucked up in the fight. He's not going to win the fight. But then John does something the equivalent of, have you ever seen when a fighter's standing over another fighter and they're kicking him in the legs, kicking him in the ass a little bit. Not that little toe in the butthole that we saw the other day. And then all of a sudden they come right with an axe kick right down the middle. That's what John did. He basically straightened out his arm and went, boom, 12-6, 2 times, and crushed Matt Hamill. At that point, he got through, which really all he did was find the opening. It was a young John Jones, but it was a rule. Steve Mazzagatti comes in. He recognized it right away. Because, guys, it was a rule. And he winds up disqualifying John Jones. He does check in with Matt. He sees that Matt's messed up, not really responding. And, yes, I know Matt Hamill is deaf, but he's partially deaf. He reads lips, and he also understands situations. Now, Dan made a good point. He was also pretty messed up. He was on the ground for a while. So, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that I really don't believe it was as egregious as Dana White's making it sound. I believe the correct call was made that night, and it was unfortunate. It doesn't mean that Matt Hamill wasn't getting his ass kicked and that John Jones isn't possibly the greatest of all time. It just means that night the rules were followed.
Yep.
Yeah. There were the rules.
I guess I want to say my...
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so let me tell you about this beef, and then we're going to circle back to the daily debate. I may have just tipped my hand to say the whole thing over again. So Matt Hamill hears this, guys, and he's 40 years old now. So he Instagrams rematch. Let's make it happen. But then he writes, hope he's clean this time. John Jones told him, damn, Matt, the disrespect. Thought you were smarter than this. Honestly, I've never said a bad thing about you. I don't know.
I don't even think that's that disrespectful. He's popped. He's been picograms over and allowed to fight.
He's got to learn to live with it.
Yeah, it's true. I don't even think it's that disrespectful.
Yeah,
I think he just wasn't expecting it from Matt Hamill.
Yeah.
I think is what maybe caught him off guard.
It could be that maybe every time they've seen each other, they bro hug and have a drink or catch up on each other's family. So maybe it caught him off guard. I don't know. I'm not trying to defend John Jones, but you're right. It wasn't the highest form of disrespect. You're also right. He should probably expect this for the rest of his career because he has had incidences and this whole pulsing thing. He's just going to have to live with that. I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about pulsing with, 8 days to go before next week.
With Matt, though, you kind of don't expect that to come out. It would have taken me back as well, but I don't think I would have the right to come back and go, you're being disrespectful. I don't know about that.
Well, if you're going to pick a fight, I guess you gotta do something to poke the bear, right? So I tell you what, let's do the daily debate as well. It basically talks about the same topic, and I think I'll be saying some of the similar stuff anyway. Hit it, Andre.
The brothers Garcia seemingly can't agree on anything.
Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season. Whether it's food.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great. Gambling.
Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
Or even social media.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat. The same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Today's daily debate question for the MMA Junkie Radio team and Smiling Sam Alvey. Are there reasonable grounds to overturn John Jones's 2009 DQ loss to Matt Hamill? Yes or no, but please explain. Yes, please explain below, or no, rules are rules. Kind of looking for something like that. Dan, Tom?
Yeah, I don't think there's reasonable grounds. I mean, it already happened for one. How many calls do we agree and disagree with in MMA? The list goes on. How many of those calls we could probably 9 out of 10, even 10 out of 10, all agree that they should be reversed. The list is long. Do we go and do that for those calls? No. What's it going to do here? Oh yeah, that's right, guys. If we don't overturn that one loss, we're going to stop. We're going to stop calling John Jones the greatest of. Oh wait. We're going to stop calling John Jones the pound for pound. Oh wait. We're going to stop making special things so John Jones can't fight. Oh wait. It's going to affect his contendership to be a champion. Oh wait. It affects him in no way. Let Matt Hamill have it. For crying out loud, the guy fights for a bigger message. For the deaf community and athletes and adversities. John Jones creates more adversities more than he overcomes it with a lot of help. Do we really need to help him here, guys? And as far as it goes, I do blame a little bit of Mazzagatti on it, which is an easy target. He understands rules very well, and so it was the right call there, but he doesn't understand context very well, and that fight probably should have been stopped sooner. Sure, Jones was winning, but it almost looked like John was looking for ways to finish, and Mazzagatti was like, no, not impressed yet, and John made the rookie mistake, went for the downward elbow. The fight was called. Still, though, it was John's mistake. Leave it be.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I'm on rules side. Dan's right. Like, if we do this for one guy, we're gonna have to do it for a lot of people. But we're coming off of a couple weeks ago where Dana White was getting criticized because he's basically telling fighters, you need to fight like this to get ahead. Now you're going to get him to go at bat and say, I don't believe that's a loss. That should be a win. It just, anybody from the outside looking in is going to feel like there's too much involvement from the outside than what actually goes on in the cage.
All right. How about Smiling Sam Alvey?
Yeah, John Jones has had questionable calls all of his career, whether it's an eye poke or a knee to the head. And you can even argue that knee to the head, I think it's just about every other state that knee would have been legal, I believe. It's just Vegas that has the
Anthony Smith fight.
Yeah, right? Against the Anthony Smith fight, which is the last one, or his last one. he's had questionable calls. Follow the rules. You don't have to like the rules, just follow them. And you didn't once, so you got a loss. It hasn't affected him in any way.
Yeah.
He's got one loss. Everyone gets to talk about that one loss now when they talk about who the greatest ever is or who's the most undefeated. Or, and it just follow the rules. If you failed the once, you failed the once. Don't do it again. And he hasn't done it again. He learned his lesson. If that one happens, maybe I'll do an illegal elbow and have it overturned next time. Maybe some other guy will. It didn't affect him in any way.
I think they should overturn it, guys. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I bet on John Jones that night. So it stung when I lost by the disqualification on a guy that's never lost. I should basically have bet every John Jones fight, and I'd have a brand new car. But that's one that cost me a ton of money.
What would happen? Would they pay you back? Would they go back?
No. From 2009, I wish. If they did, then I'm all in. No, but you know what, guys? I had a feeling that it wouldn't be much of a debate across this panel because I know these guys, all right? And then, we've been talking with Sam a little bit here. But I'll tell you what, even though we're on the same side, it was 57-43.
Whoa.
For Junkie Nation. Yeah, there's 43% of almost 780 votes that said, yes, there are grounds to overturn. Man, I don't know about all that, but those were the results. And, here's one. At MMA Greg 1 on Twitter says, Matt is deaf and thought the fight should have been stopped. I don't think he realized what was happening or why John was pulled off him. Regardless of whether he was deaf or not, I also thought he was just basically kind of KO'd. I mean, those elbows were pretty devastating. What was happening before was pretty devastating. But Matt can read lips. Matt's well aware of the situations because the referees go in there and tell them exactly what's going to happen. You need to show me something when you're in a position where I may call the fight. But anyway, I think just the fact that it went 57-43 kind of caught me off guard.
Right? Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So there you have it. There's today's Daily Debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team and UFC middleweight Smiling Sam Alvey. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's the anniversary of one of the most infamous moments in combat sports. We'll tell you about that when we come back, so don't touch that dial.
Pro Wrestling MMA.
They're going in real slow motion. Mike gets in a headlock. And look at this. He just reaches in and bites him.
It's over. It's over. During that replay, Mills Lane signaling that it's over. I think they've just about had enough. Tyson showing desperation in fighting Holyfield 2 times.
Their fighting style is described as fluffy, but their radio style is on point. Here are George Goes and Dan.
Well, 22 years ago, yes, Mike Tyson was fighting Evander Holyfield. Got a little frustrated from Holyfield, like Sam was describing, headbutting, but I mean, kind of legally, just using his head in a way where Tyson did not like it. Eventually, bit him in the ear, bit a piece off, and I mean, those two guys are, friends now, and they can laugh it off. But at that time, wow, nobody could believe their eyes. A good friend of the show, Mark Ratner, actually told us he was the one that had to levy the fine because he was the Nevada State Athletic. He was in the Nevada State Athletic Commission. He was their executive director. So I think it was $2 million, right? Or $3 million?
Something like that.
Yeah, he actually was the one that had to take that money away from Tyson. And get this, Tyson and Ratner, when in a room, have no problem talking about it, and there's no hard feelings. I mean, when someone takes $3 million away from you, you would think. What could your
argument be?
I know. At the time, he had hundreds of millions,
it was just a little bite.
It happened, and I'll tell you what. Do you remember around that time there was a gentleman called Fan Man who parachuted into the Caesars, I believe. It was an outdoor arena. Boxing's had its moments.
Dude, I hope somebody does the Fan Man for the initiation of the stadium there, for the Raiders Stadium.
It depends on the day. He may not get through because they got that retractable thing now.
It's true.
It's like, quick, close it. Trying to beat it.
That's true. But we watched the fight live together, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you think of Tyson overall? Did you go through like a love-hate, because of everything he went through as a fighter, but then away from, and now as an older guy in Vegas? Do you just say, look, he was a character, I guess, and are you okay with that, or?
As a kid, I liked him. This is gonna sound stupid, but when Mike Tyson's Punch-Out came out, I started to hate him. I wanted to see him lose. Then when I saw him lose, I was getting a little bit older, where now I can respect just what went into making him. His life, what he went through early on. Mm-hmm. So I actually became a fan again. Then he had his legal problems. He went away for a while, came back. A lot of people go away. When they come back, they don't come back the same. I gave him props for trying to get back into the game and be successful, but it just at times his character got a hold of him, and he just couldn't put it together. And that Evander Holyfield's a perfect example. I mean, you're right. He was leading with his head the whole fight, and you could see him get frustrated and. Come on, man. You can't snap that way. Biting somebody's ear?
Yeah. I know, man.
There's got to be an in-between, right?
How about you, Sam? You a fan?
Yeah, I'm a fan, but I was like, I know Tyson. I know very little about boxing. Okay. I'm a Canelo fan because, us gingers got to stick together.
Gotcha.
When I fight in Mexico, they all chant Canelo when I walk out.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you don't bite somebody. Actually, on my season of The Ultimate Fighter, I had a guy bite somebody, and everyone was cool with it at the end. Like,
did we come to find this out?
Yeah. Oh. No, it's on the show.
Remind me what happened.
James Chaney was fighting John Manley, and Manley was just putting a hurting on him. And it was the end of the fight, and Manley was smothering him, and Chaney bit him.
Oh,
didn't stop anything. But Chaney was such, and John forgave him immediately. Chaney apologized to me. He said, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Dana yelled at him, in like a private room, and Chaney was just the kind of guy who apologized to Dana in just the right way. Dana came out loving him more than he went in. So it was really no blood, nothing was missing. It was just they both said, "Yeah, I bit him." Yeah, he bit me.
Marks though, right?
A little bit. Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't look like he was tight, biting and pulling. But
remember Wes Sims? That happened to him too, right?
Mm-hmm. And he had the actual. And doesn't Liz Carmouche claim that Ronda bit her as well?
I think so.
In their title fight, she shows off the arm, the bite mark.
Jason Knight. Gabriel Benitez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. What were your thoughts on Tyson, Dan? Were you a fan?
I remember watching that. I watched from that window live before that McNeely fight to that fight, and I just remember thinking, even just as a little kid, seeing that little sample size of Tyson, how the mighty have fallen. And he kept on going ups and downs, like Goz said, and then he got to a place where I felt like I could kind of root for him again after that Tyson documentary came out, and he smoking pot and dealing pigeons or whatever he was doing with the pigeons and stuff. Like when he was in that phase of his life, I'm like, okay, he's calmed down. The testosterone, the rage has gotten out of there. But he also is apropos to a favorite fighter of mine. It's kind of apropos to MMA. I didn't get to react to this, but with BJ Penn, very similar arcs as far as that goes, and just you see it's that kind of classic fighter story where when they're the hammer, they're the best. That doesn't mean they can be the best nail. And when they're not doing their thing, things can get real crazy for them outside of the cage or the ring, in Tyson's case. And that's always made it challenging. You just find these things out, whether it's like, someone said it's tough. All your favorite fighters, sorry folks, you're going to find out are either on some type of drugs or done some bad things. And I think we've come so far, like from kind of going away from that part, trying to do these things, but like sometimes it's just a reminder. Like, of course, that's a broad, negative, sweeping generalization. I know we got to get out of here, but I'll just say that it's a reminder that even the greats, whether Tysons or these other guys in the MMA space, it's I don't know how to tie that off positive, guys, but it's a reminder. It's that much.
Well, don't worry about it, man. We still got an hour to go.
Okay.
There's still lots to cover here. We'll talk about Miesha Tate commenting on Ronda Rousey and a bunch of other stuff. So don't touch that dial. We're only gone for 60 seconds, folks.
Now, as the temperature heats up, so does free agency.
Leonard drives right, fall away for the win. Got it!
Will Kawhi Leonard keep his talents north of the border?
Raptors have a lot to sell. He goes back to Toronto. He could actually go back-to-back. He never did that with the Spurs.
Where will Kyrie Irving end up?
The Nets are the new favorite.
What does Kevin Durant's injury mean for his future?
Is it automatically a no-brainer to sign Kevin Durant, even though you know he's going to be out a year? Isn't there some reason to have a little bit of pause with something like that?
And he's not the only Warriors all-star free agent on the mend.
Klay Thompson is hurt. He is rolling over on the baseline injured.
Free agency starts Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and NBA Radio is your home for all the wheeling and dealing.
It's exciting. Getting a lot of chaos.
Hear NBA Radio on Sirius 207 XM 86 and anytime on demand with the Sirius XM app.
Road 66.
Good, you're still here. The boys were just getting warmed up. Now the real show begins. Take it away, boys.
You like Depeche Mode, Smiling Sam?
What's that?
You like Depeche Mode?
Depeche what?
Depeche Mode, this band right here.
Oh,
Depeche
yeah.
Mode.
Oh, I do now. I didn't know who they were, but now, yeah.
You don't know who Depeche Mode is?
No.
You'd never heard of them?
No. I'm
you
a
from
country
Wisconsin
boy.
Or what?
I'm a country boy. Yeah.
I bet you if we played some songs, he would recognize it.
So this one's called Route 66.
Okay.
You've heard of Route 66.
Yeah.
You actually took it from Wisconsin. All right. So, Andre the Giant, if you don't mind, play another popular Depeche Mode song. And if Sam doesn't get this one or the next one, if we have to go to it, I will truly be amazed. But go ahead, Andre, if you
What's
don't mind.
the line? Are you setting the line?
Getting one right now.
Minus The next one, he'll get it. So I'm confused, but he'll get it. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I don't think he'll get it.
No?
No.
All right. But
I got this one.
Yeah.
That's Depeche Mode.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was them though.
Yeah. All right.
They use that song for movie trailers now when they want to spice up like an old person and make them look like hip or like they're returning to the screen and they hit
in
this
black
song.
and white.
Sorry,
always.
yeah, I stereotype all songs to movie trailers.
All right. So, guys, listen. I want to get to Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey, but we talked about 2 topics that were a little sensitive, controversial, whatever you want to call them. Matt Hamill, Dana White, John Jones, and the anniversary of Mike Tyson. We kind of got rushed up against the clock. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add to that before I turn the page?
Don't bite people, kids.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't bite people. I don't know if we got your reaction to it.
Okay, yeah, and I'll say mine. How about you, Dan?
I guess just be careful, careful who you idolize, I guess, so to speak. And
You're a huge BJ Penn fan, so that's probably.
I was a big Tyson fan too, growing up. So but it just makes you look at similar things where it's like you bring other things up. You're like, yeah, how much do we judge? I guess that's what I was getting at. How much do we judge them outside as far as what they did? I'll never take away things of what they did. It's like I just say what you will about John Jones as a person, and even as these tests pop up. What I see is a guy who can kick some ass, and I can't say different. You know what I'm saying? So I don't definitely give these people the respect they're due, for their craft. But that does make you ask certain other questions, though. You bring up these polarizing figures like the Tyson. I think just Tyson's kind of a perfect one. I brought in Penn to kind of weigh out the MMA side of it, and perhaps selfishly just weigh in on these tidbits that kind of go over my head while I'm cranking down on analysis during the week. But yeah, man, it just. I don't know. I get older and I get more bummed out of these things, guys. I don't know if it's being like jaded and stuff. I judge them less harsher. I judge all things less harsher, I guess, as I get older. But also kind of like, ugh, man, it's reality.
Tyson
brother.
to me is a historian. If you ever listen to him talk about boxing, he loves that sport just about as much as anyone who's ever not only competed but ever been a fan of. I mean, he must know what's it called, the rules of Marsbury, Queen of Marsbury rules, or whatever it's called. He must know him from front to back. Out of the ring, he had that unfortunate incident, but he did do his time. I mean, he's been pretty polarizing back and forth. But I got to tell you, in the peak, me as a young adult watching him come in and fight, no socks, just the black boots, no robe, just the whatever it was called, the little towel or whatever that he poked the hole in.
Little poncho.
I mean, and then just going out there and destroying, man. It was like, he was pretty mythical.
Yes.
As far as Penn's concerned, we've talked about it a little bit, but I do want to bring Sam in on a sensitive topic in just a second. And then the other thing was, I using the daily debate and everything. I think I've already, told you all. Rules are rules, and I just really would rather not see them reverse that call. Okay. Even the no contest. I don't even want to see a no contest. I think, lost fair and square.
It's not funny, but BJ and Mike Tyson, they grew up completely different too.
Yeah.
And kind of ended up in the similar road.
So true.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something here.
All right.
We come in here on Mondays, and there's usually on Saturdays, a few people get fucked up. But someone gets messed up, and they're either older, or they've had a couple quick KOs, or successive KOs. And we talk about the sensitive topic of the onset of pugilistic dementia, and CTE, and TBI, and concussion protocols, and things like that. And we always talk about, should a fighter get in there quickly? We just recently had it with Aaron Pico. You know who he is, right?
Yeah.
Young prospect out of California. He's had some KOs. We always tend to preface our opinions by saying, at least me, hey, man, I would rather him spend some time away from the sport, especially because he's had successive KOs. But even if he had only had one, I'd like to see him not fight for 6 months. But especially those older guys like a Penn or whoever else, I always say if they're getting themselves checked out neurologically, because they have these tests where you have basically your base exam. Like if you walk in and they go, what's your first name? Sam. What's your last name? Alvey. How long have you been in California? 10 years. You know all these things off the top of your head. And when you come back, they ask you the same questions. And if at some point you're struggling to remember some of those, and some of those that are so obvious that you can't even blame age or anything like that, apparently your scores kind of tend to dip, and it should be a red flag. I want to ask you, Sam, you personally, since you're here, and others that you may know, do you guys talk about this? Is this something serious that fighters consider, like after a KO, like looking out for their welfare, their well-being, their brain and neurological and all that stuff.
Yeah, as a coach, I watch it way more in my students, in the people I coach. Like if they're taking like butt kick and said you're not getting hit for, and I'll set a time, and we're not going to let you get hit. We're not going to. You're too young to be taking so much damage. I teach a lot of children also, and I have no head contact for them. They're not allowed. If they hit anyone in the head, I get upset with them. But no head contact for anyone. Once they're 18, I'd start playing a little bit, watching, and a little more easing them into it because you're not done developing. And a lot of, MMA is such a new sport. They don't know who's the oldest out there? Couture maybe? And he seems to be doing
Severn, Couture,
yeah. And they seem to be doing all right. Hendo's on the upper end, and he's as sharp as he's ever been, or as anyone. And so
but did you read recently that Babalu Sobral, that he's been having trouble sleeping and he's been having, problems. He retired quite a long time ago, but he also grappled. But there was a story that I had come across, where he was having symptoms.
Right. Maybe it's from fighting, maybe it's not. I've got family members that have never fought, that have problems, sleeping and doing stuff like that. So maybe it's fighting related, maybe it's not. There's just not a big case study. But something that I do think of is if you're getting hit in the head a lot, try not to get hit in the head a lot. Try and correct it. Your style has to change. If ever comes a time where I'm just getting the tar kicked out of me all the time, I got to change something, because I don't want to end up not being able to sleep or having problems later. And it's something we do look at, and we all kind of joke about it. It's a problem for future Sam, but we're all aware of what could possibly happen. Boxing has been around, and we have seen what happens to boxers. Now, boxers do get hit a lot more than MMA fighters do, because of the gloves and the rules and a bunch of other reasons. They get hit a lot more than we do, but you've seen what can happen to them. So my kids' classes, if you're a kid, don't get hit in the head. Really try not to. As an adult, try not to, but it's your job now. So now you're gonna get hit in the head a little bit more. Just watch it. Pay attention to your body. If something hurts, don't do it anymore. If you're getting headaches, we're gonna take some time off and work. More mitt work.
What's the scariest incident you've had in your career?
Before I fought Talis Leites, I tore my syndesmosis ligament in the back of my left calf there. And but
I've never even heard of that ligament.
Me neither.
Did you just make that up?
No, me neither. But I was buying a house. I had no choice. I had to fight. I couldn't not fight. So that whole camp, I could do nothing but swim. I could do nothing but swim. Walking, I couldn't do. And so that was the scariest one. And as soon as the doctor took me back after, she's like, "Does anything?" Or says, "Yes, my syndesmosis. It's pretty sure it's tore." I said, "Okay, well, we'll send you." So they sent me to a local doctor in Nashville, and this doctor scared the tar of me. He said, "Listen, you tore this real bad, and if you need surgery. If anyone tells you don't need surgery, they're wrong. You need surgery." I said, "Oh, okay, and I'll get a second opinion." Went back to California and worked with the doctor. Said, "No, it's really bad, but it's not torn in the place that you would need surgery. And if you can avoid surgery, avoid it." So now I've got the two guys, and so now I'm talking to the UFC doctor. I said, "UFC doc, what do you think?" And he said, the second doctor's right. It's torn, and you're going to be laid up for a while, but stay away from surgery if you can avoid it. But that was the scariest one I ever had because I didn't know what was wrong with it. I just knew I couldn't use it.
You're good now?
I'm good now. I've got to knock on wood, I've got no injuries right now.
And you've never had any problems like brain trauma or that you know of, like headaches or?
Yeah, when I fought Nate Marquardt, that one I won the fight. I didn't even feel like I got hit somewhere, but he hit me one time. One solid time I remember, and but that was it. After the fight, I felt fine. Not a mark on me. It was all good. A week later was the Super Bowl. And I was hanging out at my buddy Pat's house, and his daughter Solana, and I stood up to like wrestle her in commercial or something. I stood up, And, like, the world spun immediately. Like, I'd never experienced it. Oh, my goodness. So I sat down, and the world kept spinning. And it was And so I started settling down, and I didn't say anything to anyone. I just kind of chilled. And then I was real careful. And it happened once the next day. And I said, okay, something must have happened.
Damn.
And it was, for a week, not a sign of anything. And it was a week and a day later, the world was just, so we, Dr. Google figured it out, and it was a delayed onset something. I was a concussion. It just, you don't get the signs for a week later, and concussions happen, but it was like I didn't take any hits for like a month and a half. I just took it off. I just fought. I'm good. I can do other stuff. I can work on my jiu-jitsu. For like 2 weeks, I did nothing. I just relaxed because I'd just stand up and the world would just go everywhere. And that was actually, and once I added it up, once I knew that, I left in the airport the next day after the fight. I left a pair of headphones, and we always get posters signed. I left my posters in the airport and didn't realize I did it for like 3 days. It's like, oh, I bet you that's what I just set them down and didn't think about them again.
Wow.
But that's the only time I really.
You get yourself checked out?
Yeah, since then I've gotten so many MRIs and the other things. The doctors were, at one point, doctors told me stop getting MRIs. Every time I fought in a different country, they wanted a different MRI. I said, stop it. You're radiating your brain. Knock it off.
Yeah.
He said, oh, it's not my call. Well, it kind of is, but they need it.
And it's something that should be said, and I don't disagree with what you guys are saying. And as someone who, used to teach and came up in martial arts as a kid, unfortunately didn't know. I was proud of my hard head. I'd be like, hey, gather around and bang it on my desk, and people would hit me. Then I go to Taekwondo class and like, go on, kick, watch, nothing happens, Hawaiian head, yay. And I didn't know about these things, so I love hearing all that. But something you guys were even mentioning in the debate, other fighters like, well, they get cleared and whatnot, and MRIs, and I definitely agree they should, although not too much because radiation that's a good that they told you that, Sam. But let's be real here, and somebody who still suffers, I wear these glasses not to be hipster and cool because I suffered many concussions, the last bad one, so I know these things. There's no real test for it yet, and the studies are still kind of, are real foggy. We're getting better. We're moving in the right direction, thankfully, so that's all great. But one thing I would say, and I don't know who was it Megan Olivia or Laura Sanko, someone I believe here sitting in one of our chairs here, one of our guests, saying, we're doing so many cool things at the UFC PI, and again, moving in the right direction there too. So these are all great things. I'm definitely all positives I'm trying to push out here whilst being real. I wouldn't mind, and this was someone else's idea, I have to credit, if they did more psychological help. We're speaking more about the BJ Penns and certain things because a lot of things we don't know about concussions. We can't test for them, nor can we say, oh, that's why this guy's acting this way, or maybe it's part of the reason, but how much of a percentage, and then how much of it, if they get into trouble, how much is the law? It gets all kind of a slippery slope when we start trying to compare and blame this reason for that. I'm not trying to do that. I think the sciences are moving in the right direction. The fighters are getting smarter. The UFC's putting more things out there, but maybe just more the psychological health department, if that makes any more sense. Like
a lot of fighters need sports psychologists
getting out
to
of the
perform.
Sport, to perform.
You know what I mean? So why wouldn't they need one to come down from a fight, win or lose?
Yeah.
I was listening to Chris Como from CNN. He dedicated his whole hour, and he was talking about depression and mental health.
Yeah.
And they were throwing around some stats. I'm going to probably butcher a couple of them, but just talking to somebody can help a lot of people. Because we have a high suicide rate in this country. Just talking to someone can be helpful, whether it's just one time or once a week or once a month. But it's incredible how being able to, I guess, get stuff off your mind and talk to someone who understands can go a long way. So if you guys are interested, just Google maybe Chris Como and you'll listen to that episode. They had a lot of experts come in and talk about it. Talked about the military, the PTS people. They suffer the depression that has stricken our country. All of the people that have taken a lot of pain medication, and have gotten different types of addictions, same things like that. So it was really, really interesting.
And I don't want to be real quick. I just don't want to be too assumptuous as far as like the fighters go and speaking for them. I only say this based on stuff we've heard from other fighters. Like we've had Joseph Benavidez in here, and he's gotten emotional telling about the process of between fights. Even just we're not talking about getting up for a fight or coming out for your career, just the in between hurdles that all fighters hit with injuries. And then Vince Pichel, who we had in here, and since he's gotten another back surgery, motorcycle accident, he's coming back to fight this weekend.
Yes.
And when he was in here, he kind of had a chip on his shoulder, and that's what I like about Vince. He wears his heart on his sleeve. But he was like, "Hey, you media people, you guys don't care about me till I got a fight coming up." And it's not that you guys are more personal than anybody, so you can't throw that criticism on you guys. But it's one of those things you can't help it from your side. But you also see what they're talking about because, again, from a fighter, like it might. We might not think of Sam Alvey until his next fight comes around, but Sam Alvey has a life that's going on.
Alvey?
That's going on between between each fight,
Yeah.
And things actually happen there, and they are living a life, and we I think as fans and media we tend to forget about that.
For sure, man. In fact, when I walk Maxco's at the park, I can't help but shake up a little bit when I see that little picnic area where Sam, the listener from Chicago, we knew him as Sam the chef.
Yeah.
He cooked a big barbecue for Junkie Nation, the listeners of our show that gathered every year. We had done a flag football game against Extreme Couture, and then afterwards we all gathered and had a barbecue. And Sam was a chef, at a hotel in Chicago, and he was a listener of our show for many years, and none of us knew that he also suffered from depression. He had some personal things that had happened, and then last year he took his life. But when I walk the dog and I go by that area, I'm like, whoa. I even have pictures here, dude, that it I don't know, affects me a little bit. But listen, here's a number for you. This is called the suicide hotline. It's 1-800-273-8255. If you want to remember it a little easier, it's 1-800-273-TALK, TALK. So I don't think that's a bad thing to share it with the audience. And I don't know how we went from, hey, Sam, do you look out for yourself and everything? Because, hey, man, you know what? We want those fights that they call slobber knockers or hootenannies or barn burners, heart stoppers. You know what I mean?
Slobber knockers.
Buzzer beaters, whatever you want. When those fights are awesome as fans, but little do we know how much you guys are leaving in the cage of yourselves, your spirit, your mind, your physical, and I don't know if this means anything to you guys, but I mean, the entertainment you guys give us is something else. We enjoy it, but we really do care about you guys as fighters.
We appreciate it.
And maybe that's not the first thing a fan tells you when they meet you. We care about you. They're like, hey, can I get an autograph in a picture? But I think I know enough fans and have talked to enough fans where when they ask me, what's Sam like? What's so and so like? And I can tell that they really, really do care about you all. All right, listen, let's regroup. We got to take a quick break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, channel 156. When we come back, we will really get to Miesha Tate and Ryan McKinnell and their fabulous show, MMA Tonight. They had some interesting takes when Ryan McKinnell posed the question to Miesha Tate, whose career would she rather have had, Ronda Rousey's or Amanda Nunez? So we'll hear those thoughts. Plus, we got to get a street fight story goes out of Sam Alvey. That's what we do with all of our in-studio guests. So hopefully you got one, Sam, from the mean streets of Wisconsin, yeah. We'll be right back, folks.
excellence and excitement in your Vitamix. Add ice, and you get MMA Junkie Radio.
This one's called Love Vigilantes by New Order. I love this song. Okay. So, I want to get to Misha Tate, who's one of our colleagues here on SiriusXM. She's got a show on Wednesdays. They go on right before us, 6 to 8 Eastern, 3 to 6 Pacific, her and Ryan McKinnell. And their day is Wednesday because it's a Tuesday through Thursday show. But Ryan McKinnell asked her a question. Whose career would you have rather had, Ronda Rousey's or Amanda Nunez's? Here is Misha's answer.
So basically, let's take the names out of it. It's like, would you rather win every, bout, let's just say, Ronda, we're talking about greatest of, all time, greatest all time, right? While she was winning and she was doing all these great things and she gets 100% return on it? Or would you rather put 110% effort into it and get 50% return on it?
Right.
So I'm looking at this and I'm going to say, you know what? I would rather have Ronda's career. I wouldn't. If you ask me who I'd rather be, I would say Amanda. But if you're talking about, I'm going to put 110% into this, and what do you want to get out of it? Do you want to get 100% out of it, or do you want to get 50% out of it? I'm going to say I want 100%.
You guys get that?
Yeah. I guess the only thing is Amanda's career isn't done yet, right? So maybe she can make up for what she didn't get early on.
Right.
But I get where she's coming from because, Hollywood, there's a lot of things that came calling, WWE.
Could that also have been what why the fall from grace was so tragic?
Yeah.
I mean, she's still with us, but she contemplated taking her life when she lost to Holly Holm. She's been non-existent with media. She used to be one of the friendliest fighters when it came to fans. Same thing, that disconnect's not there. She did go to WWE and have a pretty successful career there, and now she's obviously going to take some time off. But even there, she butted heads a little bit. So what about factoring all that in?
I don't know. I mean, I'd still personally rather be Amanda Nunez, but that's probably just because Nina Ansaroff looks more gentle than Travis Brown. I factor in everything, right, guys? I mean, we're being fair. Fair is fair.
How about you, Sam?
I'm going to take Ronda Rousey just for the WWE exposure.
Oh, yeah?
That was...
You're a fan?
I'm a huge fan.
Okay.
And I don't watch like I used to. It just, my schedule doesn't work out for it. But I watch all the big ones. And Ronda, she surprised me. I don't think she's great on the mic, but I think she is great in the ring, and it's fun to watch. And for that, absolutely her, because I want to be in the WWE the WWE.
You would do that?
Oh, in a heartbeat. It is the only thing out there that could be offered that I would stop fighting for.
Huh.
I think young George would have wanted the Ronda career, but older George, knowing that I don't need to be not to say she's a billionaire, but I don't need that many millions. Couple will do me fine. Remember, Amanda was the champ when she fought Ronda, and they sold 1 million pay-per-views. That had to have been a pretty good payday. And then along the way, fighting Cyborg and some of the other fights that she's had, she's scooped up some pots here and there. I think she's doing well, but look at the skins on her wall. Cyborg, Tate, Rousey. She's the greatest of all time. She's a champ for crying out loud. You know what I mean?
What happens when fighting's over?
What do you mean?
What happens with Amanda when fighting's over? Ronda kind of cemented different avenues of still collecting revenue and all that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that is like a big thing that you're pulling in.
Again, man, if I was a king, I'd just be a king. I don't need the rose petals. I don't need to have people laugh at my jokes if I'm not really funny. You know what I mean? I get it when the boss cracks a joke. You know what I mean? But I don't need people just fake laughing everything just because I'm this. And I believe that that's the pedestal they put her on, and that's too much for me, man.
I can't stop thinking, but Sam, what his wrestling character would be. He's saying he's so interested in it. I'm just thinking now, I could imagine him, his gimmick it has to be still smiling, but you would be committing fouls left and right, but because you were smiling, no one saw it coming, or it would be so obvious. You'd literally be walking, there's a chair in your hand, you know what he's gonna do, but he's such a nice guy. You just
have you thought it through? Have you come up with a character? Have you ever did it?
I would play it as close to what I am as they would let me. Smiling Sam would be my character, and it just. I would.
Could you come up with an evil smile and be a heel?
I'm sure I could manage it.
Hypothetical to steal from Goz's wheelhouse here. What if they're like, Sam, your MMA career's over. Let's just say hypothetically, we're years in the future now. Sam, why don't you over at WWE? We got a spot for you, but here's the deal. We're planning a comeback for Rikishi with an MMA spin, so we can get you on the program, but we're also going to need you to double as his training partner. And Rikishi, let's just say his new special move is from north-south. So there's going to be a lot of reps in between those road shows and travel. You
that's an oddly specific futuristic. If it gets me in the door, I'm down. I'll do whatever Rikishi needs me to. What did they say? $20 is $20. You give me the WWE.
We got to leave some time to predict some of these fights, and I know we got to go to break soon. But let's do this. I've been waiting for a while. Sam, you got to share a good street fight story with us. You got one, or maybe even two?
No.
No. What?
I have never fought outside of the cage. Not once. The best I can come up with is...
We're none of us are wearing badges, man. You're not going to get in any trouble.
Can you break down a Renaissance Fair fight?
No, not once. The best I've got is when I first started doing anything with MMA.
Yeah.
I ordered, it was 2 pairs of gloves off eBay for $2. I got 2... And my brother and I, we just beat the shit out of each other. Pardon my language. We just gloved up and just went to town because we didn't know what we were doing. We were just swinging as hard as we could.
Did you ever have any close calls that you had to talk your way out of? Or
no.
It's that smile, huh?
It's the smile, I guess. I'm a charming individual, I guess.
Was there an uncle there at least putting money on you guys, seeing which one you think now?
It's all legal at sea, right? No, and people are so surprised, but no, I've got 72 fights, but never has
I believe you.
One outside of the cage.
I believe you, but I can't walk away without hearing something. Give me a good international travel story. You mentioned Russia earlier or anything. Like somewhere where as a fighter they got the best of you, like the promoter was punked you or anything like that.
Well, so my official record is, I believe it says I'm 33-12-1.
Okay.
But if you will, every time they announce my record, I am not.
Yes, 33-12-1.
I am 1 loss less. I fought in New Zealand, and I'll never fight in New Zealand.
So you should have 13 losses.
What's
Wait,
that?
you should have 11 losses?
I should have 11 losses.
What happened?
I fought this New Zealand card. Brandon Rapati was his name. And this, I was just brought in to lose. It wasn't the greatest fight I ever had, but I beat him. And I beat him clearly. They took a point from he poked me in the eyes, kicked me in the nuts twice. They took a point, 2 different points. At one point, they stopped the match because he had a corner on every side. I mean, he had 10 corners.
Was it a lumberjack match? Why'd they have so many people around?
Cornermen. There was a corner. I mean, he had a dozen cornermen just surrounding the cage, doing whatever. And like I said, it wasn't the greatest fight I've ever had, but I won the fight. On the points alone.
You feel like you won 10-9, 10-9, 10-9?
10-9, but then they took points in 2 of them, so it would have been 10-9, 10-8, 10-8. And they gave it to the other guy.
Wait, they took points from him?
Yeah, because I swear to God, he
poked
both my eyes, kicked me in the nuts twice. At one point, they took points from him. And
how did the math make sense?
They just said he won.
Was it his promotion?
The referee was the promoter. Which is something else. Backstage, I mean, I was furious. I've been mad really twice in my.
Did you look at judges' scorecards?
No, I wasn't allowed to see anything. But it was. We got back, and I'm like.
So you felt like you won every round.
I won.
And then on top of that, they took away points from the guy.
Yes.
So at the end, you were really, really expecting 30-25.
Yeah, I was expecting it was easy.
Did they say the score, or did they just go the winner is?
I don't remember.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Did that cost you a win bonus too?
Yeah. I went to New Zealand and back. I think I made like $600 or something. And he met with us backstage, the promoter, and we were pissed. He said, "Okay, we'll take care of it. Don't worry. Maybe we can get like other referees and stuff to look at it, or other judges we'll send it in." And so we got on the flight back home. And so we landed in Hawaii. We got off the plane in Hawaii. He had already said, "Nope, it's official." It's official, and we're actually giving him back a point because one of them wasn't an eye poke; it was a glove hit. It's like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
So I got had. It was a learning mistake.
We know how that promoter voted on the daily debate, huh?
That's one of those
give him back that W.
And nothing. Brandon Rapati, it was a great fight. Good job. I don't know what he's doing. Hopefully, he's doing super successful. I had nothing bad to say about him. He was a great guy, but they got me.
Wow, that blew me away, man. All right, thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
All right, I think we better go to a break, though. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll talk about some of these fights coming up at UFC in Minneapolis.
If you cross them, they will destroy you. Just ask Three Finger Eddie and Pete the Penguin. Who are they, you ask? My point exactly. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
SiriusXM has your chance to see Jimmy Buffett and the Coral Reefer Band in Cincinnati. One grand prize winner will get a trip to Cincinnati, including air, hotel, VIP tickets to the show, and access to a pre-show party. Plus, you'll score a pair of box seats to see the Reds host the Cardinals. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Jimmy Buffett before July 8th. No additional purchase is necessary. Don't forget, you can hear concert broadcasts from Jimmy Buffett's Son of a Son of Sailor High Tide Tour on Margaritaville Radio, Channel 24. All right.
Did you time that with the song?
Song takes me right back to the 80s, by the way.
I did not.
Oh.
Yeah, I just read it. I mean, it was the longest read ever, but had to get the job done.
Just take credit for it. Say, yeah, I planned it.
That was impressive.
That's what I did.
I like your style.
I like when you pull into your house or into a parking spot and the song ends right as you're doing it, because now it's the theme of your trip.
Just hope it's a good song.
Yeah.
It's like not Barbie Girl is ending right as you pull. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
For me, it's podcasts as this podcast ends. Although, if
That's
I'm on my
the
way to
holy
the gym,
grail.
I don't know about you, I have to have a good song. That last song that I listen to in the car has to be good. Although these days, I'm like, well, let me turn from the Metallica. Let's just, because when you get older, it's not. Yeah, I want to have a good practice. I want to get and then as you get older, you're like, I just want to be safe. I want to get this practice. I don't have anything popped. I want to have a good time.
Knocking on wood the whole way in. Nothing's gonna get hurt.
Like, that's what it turns into when you get older, I think.
By the way, a little bit of love for Titan FC 55 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on the UFC Fight Pass. That's tonight. LFA 70 in Madison, Wisconsin on Access TV. That's tonight. Cage Warriors 106 Night of Champions in London, England on the UFC Fight Pass. That's tomorrow night. Speaking of tomorrow, even though we won't be able to do it to this audience, we will be on the Sportscaster for the fights. UFC Minnesota, UFC Dos Santos versus Ngannou. UFC Fight Night, whatever it is. No, it's actually UFC on ESPN 3. We'll be on Sportscaster, so go to www.sportscaster.com/MMA Junkie and watch along with us. Also, tomorrow's our dad's birthday. So to this audience, to a lot of you that know him, we're just letting you know that it's old man GG's birthday.
Happy birthday, George Sr.
Yeah. All right, Sam Alvey, you are going to be fighting Klidson Abreu. I'm going to plead guilty. I don't know much about that individual. Have you already done the breakdown?
I've done my research.
This guy,
I've got
is that McKee's job?
she definitely did it first, but we tend to she and the coaches we tend to get on the same page before we.
How you feeling about this one?
I feel good. I do. He's a tough guy. He's got big hands, good jiu-jitsu. Trains at a world-class gym, and it'll be a fun fight. It'll be an exciting fight. It's got the potential to go anywhere. And I know most fighters are like, yeah, he's strong. It really is a fun matchup. Stylistically, this could pretty easily be fight of the night.
Mm-hmm. Are you glad you don't have to use the passport to get to your fight?
Glad maybe not, but it will be fun fighting the foreigner in America.
Right. I mean, it's good to travel. I know you like to travel and soak in the world, but not that many in a row, right? You get kind of hammered on the taxes coming back, and
I did
there's some drawbacks, right?
I sure did.
International travel as well, like because you guys only get one cornerman, so anybody else that comes out of your pocket, right?
Yeah, you get to write it off at the end, I guess. But no, I'm looking forward to fighting, and I've never fought in Texas. This is actually the closest to home I've ever fought. Home being in California. Wow. Yeah, and it is. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Colorado was the old closest, and I did where everything is, and MapQuest says that this is the new closest.
Wow. I guess he's right, yeah. I see a Tennessee here, and Ottawa, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Nashville, I guess Utica.
It's like an hour and a half or 2 hour flight, and I'm there. It's going to be pretty. That's going to be pretty nice.
The ref assignments came out. It looks like Goddard's. I'm just kidding. Hey, let's talk about these fights, guys. Get out your sheet here. We already kind of talked about the main event. Dan's also got his main event breakdown on MMA Junkie. Check it out along with the video breakdown. Was it you just you this week, or was it you and Morgan?
It was just me for the Benavidez and Formiga and Ngannou de Santos.
All right, and he's also got his podcast, the Protect Your Neck podcast. Check it out on iTunes. Leave him a review as well. 1 to 5 stars is what you can leave them. 5 stars are appreciated. Dan goes through the whole fight, and then he leaves you some bookmarks there so that you can get the quicker version if you want. But he really goes into detail, so if you want to bet on some fights, listen up, man. The guy watches a lot of film. But Dan, To the audience that may not be able to get to that, give us a couple here that jump out at you, you know, as good opportunities to maybe sprinkle a little bit of cash.
Oh, I don't know about that in this card unless you like parlays and favorites.
Sam's a parlay fan. He was telling us, right?
I am a fan of parlays.
Yeah. I did a few fun ones and whatnot, but a lot of the favorites I don't necessarily trust, so I don't blame a few shots on the dogs here. I've been going somewhat dog heavy for me lately. Man, I'm conservative as all crap. Although I did take some plus money on Damian Maia. If your sports betting house offers a inside the distance or submission prop, I just feel like that one. I don't know. I have a strong feel for that one. Although, Tony Martin, man, he's been impressing. He's been looking better each fight at welterweight, but just the way they line up.
So submission inside the distance on Maia?
That's probably my strongest play. Just because you look at Maia's history for one, he doesn't lose to guys that aren't title challengers, champions, or kind of future greats, so to speak. And essentially, I mean, not all black belts are created equal. We have a lightweight who just got his black belt going against a giant welterweight who's a middleweight, who was a middleweight, spending the last decade strangling heavyweight level grapplers in no-gi. I mean, man, I mean, Lyman Good, all these guys, they know what Damian Maia is doing. His series is so awesome, but they can't stop it. And there's a reason why that stuff works. And even though it's basic and it's a very similar series and these guys know it's coming, they really can't stop it. And, he beat Sergio Moraes, but Sergio Moraes is a different kind of jiu-jitsu player. He's great as well. He's above average for your normal black belt, but he's more of a positional guy in jiu-jitsu, more of a gi guy than a no-gi guy. And in MMA, he doesn't really use it that much. Damian Maia, he's going to be shooting and putting that pressure. And I still haven't seen the takedown defense from Martin. He trains at a great camp in American Top Team, but this is just a big step up. And he even said so himself. His last fight, he's like, give me the toughest person you want for that co-main event spot in Minneapolis. They listened to him because they gave him the co-main event in Minneapolis. They gave him Damian Maia. But his interviews this fight week, when you fast forward, he goes, I mean, I didn't know they were going to give me this guy. I don't know if you want to hear that from especially a fighter who's pretty boisterous and confident as he is. So, yeah, sorry, long-winded, but that's my strongest feel.
How about Polo Reyes or Pichel, both coming in as dogs, both veterans, both guys that love to go out there and put on a show? But are they coming up against guys that just might be strong where they're weak, or do they have shots here?
I like that you mentioned both those. Both of them kind of drew eyebrows, although I leaned Dober, but I felt much more confident after watching the tape. Dober's only problem is he kind of...
To be clear, you leaned towards Drew Dober. You didn't lean over, right? It sounded like you said, I leaned over.
Oh, I am leaning over now. I leaned over.
Yeah.
See, it sounds like leaned over. Leaned over. But I felt more confident in him after coming out. I mean, Marco Polo Reyes is pretty much knockout or bust. Dober's got a big chin that seems like a durable chin, and it's coming from a guy with a big head myself. But no, honestly, Dober's only kryptonite is he's been shooting on guys when he shouldn't have, and that won't hurt him in this fight because, as we saw with Polo Reyes, could use some, that's definitely an easier entry point, to put it very kindly. Whereas, Vince Pichel, man, I didn't like going against this guy. I know some of you guys got him in staff picks. I think he's alive. He's plus 220, but you're getting like plus 950 to plus 1,000 by KO, and to me that's his path here. Roosevelt Roberts hasn't really wrestled, although he looks like he's really good at wrestling. He only really started in 2014, started from jiu-jitsu, and he's got a natural proclivity for fighting and athleticism, uses that long frame great. I think he's going to be able to do that here. But it's deceptive. Vince Pichel, we just saw him get dominated in grapple. You're like, oh, easy for Roberts.
But he did have some moments against Gillespie where he didn't make it easy for him. Yeah,
and that was Gillespie. Even Gillespie says, like, no one gets up under me. So this is real tough, man. It's dog or pass. I picked Roberts, but I'm not putting anything on that, George. I don't blame anybody taking the shot here for Pichel.
I noticed the thing about Drew shooting in as well. He kept doing it Dober and Dober and Dober again.
Dober,
right?
yeah.
All right, how about... Did you guys see the heat between Emily Whitmire and Amanda Ribas?
I saw that, yeah.
How did that get started?
Well, it looked like Emily just crossed the line of where
she came in too fast.
Where they're supposed to do, I'm talking about the ceremonial weigh-ins. When they came face to face, you kind of know where you're supposed to stand. There's not really a line there, but you know that basically where Dana White is, which he was there this time, you basically don't cross half of his body. But Emily came right into her, and so I don't know what's been brewing, but I'm telling you, man, when I go to Extreme Couture and watch the practice, if you guys told me, here's a bag with $1 million, if you can guess for sure who's going to be here today, There's a lot of them that attend quite a few practices, but Emily's there
all the
every
time, yeah.
fucking day, and she gets there early. She goes through a proper warm-up so that when 3:30 comes around, she's loose and limber and ready to give you that full hour. So I know she puts in the work, but you tell me, Dan Tom.
Oh, I'm biased, man. I've known her since she first came up here. I'm completely biased and completely compromised. But I did play Emily. Yeah, no, I'm completely biased on that. Go Emily. I love that girl. I think that you're looking for bettable lines. I was looking at Maurice Green and Junior Albini. I know we've had a Maurice Green, the crochet boss, up in here. Man, I still remember that guy's handshake. Like, I just got a cast off of my broken ham, Sam, and I'm still at that stage where like literally it was just that week, and I was kind of ginger about it. And I had this like on here, and he's like, and he reaches over, he's like, okay, to get a handshake. I didn't want to be rude, and I've been giving everybody my left, but this wire couldn't let me go over there. So I was like, oh crap, here you go. And it was like, you seen the movie Animal House from 1978, where they're in the black club, and the guys move the desk over and goes, do you mind if we dance with your dates? And like you just see the little girl's hand just disappear, envelop into the giant man's hand. Like that was my hand and Maurice Green. I was just like, oh. Sorry, I always forget. Remember that, but I think he's pretty playable. A lot of money came in on him. He was a dog, yeah. Now I'm looking on the sheet you gave me here, George, and it looks like they're at minus 115, and that's some of the more bettable lines on this cards that have kind of stacked chalk on it. So if you like Green and believe that 3-fight skid that Albini's on is for real. I like also, the one thing Green was kind of missing was a little bit of process to his striking, and he's actually spent this whole last camp out at Mark Montoya Factory X, and they've been doing some good things. I think it's a good fit for him camp-wise. So, all
right. Well, we still got a few more fights to cover. We got to take this last break. Listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 156. Stay close. We'll be right back to close up shop for the week.
bet you I lost more.
Pack a knuckle sandwich and some punch. The boys are about to break down the latest in MMA news. Here are George, Goes, and Dan.
Now, all of our picks on the staff are available on MMA Junkie's front page. So you can check out everything Dan's doing, everything I'm doing, Goes is doing, all of our writers and editors. So there's no excuses. I mean, there's times where my buddy's like, you guys never tell us your pick. I'm like, what the fuck? I've been doing that for like 5 years.
Delete that.
Not only that, we got fighters cussing us out when they see who we went for. But, yeah, it's all there. Dan's got his podcast, Protect Your Neck Podcast. And, follow us on Twitter at Dan Tom MMA, at MMA Junkie George, at The Goes, at Smiling Sam, at MMA Junkie Radio. And do your research. That's all I can say. I got the fight odds right here. What about you, Sam? What's your parlay? You have a parlay? Have you looked at that enough?
I've been looking at it, and I just like the favorites, and the favorites
You're
are
really
all
going out on a limb, huh?
Yeah, like I'm gonna have to parlay to make any money with it. So I'll take Ngannou, I'll take Maya. I like Anders. So I'm always.
I like him too.
Yeah.
But should he be that big of a favorite?
Especially coming in short notice. I mean, stylistically, I think so. But man, all the flags. Because I like the guy, it's like, man, you're making it hard on yourself. He's like I'll fight Machida in Brazil on short notice.
Yeah.
I'll fight Thiago Santos in Brazil on short notice. And this isn't exactly the same level or car, but he's still taking this on short notice. So you're like, ooh.
Is that Paul Craig? Is that the Scottish guy? Big deal?
Nothing cannot run a grey Scotsman.
I don't think he should be that big of an underdog to Alonzo Menifield, but I do like Alonzo Menifield. I just some of these odds jump out at me. Did you finish your parlay? So it's Maya and Ngannou, or
I was just I don't know who Dalcha Lungayambula is, but he's a big favorite, so I might throw him on there too.
Me too. That was on my avoid list at first, but actually watching the footage, like, this guy's a freak. He's gonna be tested because he's not very refined technically.
Okay.
And he comes from not the strongest scene, the South African scene, which is kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
But like watching him, he looks like the Black Akiyama. Like
okay.
Blackiyama or something. I don't know what to call it that. But no, he's like he's got the top side judo. He just as long as he stays off his back, he should be all right. And he's got like that kind of power where he just touches guys out of position even, and they're just they're gone kind of a thing. So,
okay.
So I might be throwing him some chalk as well. Sam,
that makes so that's 4 overdogs.
Yes.
So it'll make me something.
I like Jared Gordon. I mean, we're still talking in that same minus 340 price range, but I like him if you're looking for big chalk, as far as you just need a leg to fill for some fun this weekend.
Yeah.
That's one that's going to be in mine. Gordon, Dober, and I will say I Maya as well, but I will say I did mix in some Benavidez and Whitmire for their prices, but there's also bias attached to maybe for you guys too with Joe B, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. So I do always warn when I'm picking and or playing someone that I have bias to. Don't listen to me too hard.
Yeah, I love Benavidez, but he looked so drawn out this morning.
Yeah, didn't
he? He looked thin.
Yeah, the Barton Fink haircut. I know he'll appreciate that reference.
How about you, Goes?
Remember when I took your pen earlier and did absolutely nothing with it?
Okay.
I was going to do a parlay, and I realized, wow, I think I'm just going to have to go heavy favorites. But I can put one together. I'm going to go.
Here's the
Vince
pen.
Pichel.
Let me tell you mine while you get yours together. Here's my 5-teamer, guys.
All right.
Benavidez.
All right.
Maya. Pichel.
Ooh.
Whitmire. Maurice Green. Huh? It's a 5-teamer. 5-teamers pay 20-1. Now, granted, some of these are favorites, but I do have one dog to cancel out a little bit of that. So my $100 parlay would, instead of paying $2,000, it would probably pay about $1,500 or so if those 5 come in.
I will say,
of course, I don't bet 100. I'm small time. I'll probably go like 20 to win. I guess it comes out to about 300.
I will say Pichel and Dos Santos are probably your best underdogs straight up on the card value-wise, whether you're picking them to win or not. I do think that those guys, you can't deny it. I mean, if I'm picking Ngannou here, but I mean, if by first-round knockout, but I mean, if Dos Santos gave him that veteran lesson, would we really have been that surprised? Stipe was able to pull and return some punches and counter showed Ngannou's defense is there. If JDS doesn't get knocked out early, it's all that first round. I think JDS's chances go like this if he gets out of the first round, right? Like, I think they jump off a lot. I just don't see it happening. I'm not picking it to happen, but I don't blame anybody as far as, like, that's where the value's at, the heavyweight fight or the Pichel, he's heavy-handed, man.
Give me your parlay, Goes.
I'm going Minifield, Pichel, and Ngannou.
All right, guys. Sam, thank you so much for coming by and co-hosting.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
Good luck to all your guys tomorrow night. I think they're packing the Mac.
Packing the Mac. It's a free fight. Anyone in Vegas can go see it for free.
Yep.
Right on. All right. Good stuff, Dan. Thank you, as always. We'll see you on Monday. And I want to thank all of our guests for the week, including Stitch Duran, Justin Willis, Colby Covington, Thiago Santos, Daniel Cormier, Sarah Kaufman, Mike Aframowitz, and Smiling Sam Alvey. Don't forget, Goes and I will be back tomorrow to do the Sportscaster, so check out sportscaster.com/MMA Junkie and watch along with us UFC on ESPN 3. We will be on there, and we'll even give away one of these bobbleheads. For Sam and Dan and Goes and Andre back east, I'm George. Enjoy the weekend. Keep it locked on MMA Junkie throughout the weekend, and go out there and be a champion.